Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to the Backlook Cinema Podcast. This is your host, Zoe. And I'm just so glad to be back, to be able to speak with everybody. Thank you for downloading and streaming this podcast. I am so sorry that I was away for so long, depriving you of this precious content. So, I wanted to be back because this is a bonus episode that I want to talk about a movie that I just saw. And I also want to make some announcements, to kind of put into context, what's been going on in the last couple of months. So we're not all the way back. I'm still doing some redesign and reshuffling of some things with the show, but it's time to start recording again. It's time to start uploading some episodes. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to start because of the movie that I just saw just a couple of days ago. So this hiatus that the show was on, it lasted a lot longer than I had anticipated. So I originally put the show on hiatus because I really needed to retool the show because Zach, due to his work schedule, won't really be able to participate in the show as a co-host as he once was because, as I said, the pressures of work and scheduling and whatnot. We'll still watch movies together, and I'll tell you what he thought, but it's just mostly going to be me. And that was the original reason that the podcast went on hiatus, is to basically figure out how I was going to do it. All by myself. And so, and the other thing is that, our family had a couple of tragedies, and I was debating whether or not I should share these events with you, the audience, or whether I should keep it to myself. And I know there are a lot of podcasts where they put like all of their feelings on Front Street, and their whole audience knows what's going on in their lives. And then there are others that don't share a bunch of details and stuff. And so I was trying to figure out, what did I want to do? What type of podcast, or what kind of host, what kind of person am I going to be at this moment? So I thought that I would just go ahead and share some of these things because it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt anyone, I don't think, to share some of these things that our family has been going through. And so I thought I'd talk about a little bit about that first, and then I'll get into the movie to give you my impressions. So of course, this is where we talk about the movies of yesteryear, but we're going to talk about a brand new movie that just came out. So as far as the tragedies are concerned, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was Zachary's mother, and my fiance, Linda Jenks. She had suffered a stroke, so she had to go into a hospital, and she's still in the hospital. And so we're all praying for her. If you're a person of faith, I would appreciate you're praying for her recovery too. She is steadily improving, and I'm so grateful for that. And so that was the first tragedy. We miss her being at home because of the COVID protocols. We can't visit her at the hospital as we'd like. Like, we'd like the whole family to be able to visit her at the hospital, but she can really only have one visitor at all. One visit at a time, and one particular visitor. So only that person can visit. So that was the first tragedy. And the second tragedy is that I lost my brother and Zachary's uncle due to failing health. He had a heart condition. So my brother's name is Vernon Richardson Jr., and he had passed away on Thanksgiving. And so it was kind of a hard thing for the entire family to get through. And it was something that we all loved him very dearly. And it was just something that it was emotionally crushing for all of us. But he was a spectacular man. He was great to be around. And so we will miss him deeply. And you know, we had to work through that. I had to work through that. I had to get through it emotionally. And that's one of the reasons why we were on hiatus for so long. But now I feel like I'm in a place where I can continue this extra work. Like most podcasters, I have an actual regular job. So the podcast is actually extra work. And so when you have a bunch of emotionally challenging events coming at you from multiple angles, you know, some things are going to have to be put on hold until, you know, you have the strength to continue, or, you know, you evaluate if it's even worth it. Do you even want to continue to do all the extra work of whatever hobby that you might be into? So I've decided that I can continue. I feel like I'm at a place where I can continue to do this work, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So that was when it, you know, that's the announcements that I wanted to make. And as I said, I wanted to change the format a little bit. So since it's just me, I'm going to do more to bring more guests on the show. I'll have different features on the show. Try to make the show a little bit more interesting, because, you know, I don't want to bore you to tears. That would be a crime. That would be terrible, and I don't want to do that. So let's let's slide on. Let us transition to what this current show is. This bonus episode, and this bonus episode is where I give you my impressions of Spider-Man: No Way Home. This movie stars Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, Zendaya as MJ, also known as Michelle Jones Watson, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan, Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon / Electro, Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, or the Green Goblin, Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius, although I don't know if they call him Dr. Octopus in the movie, Benedict Wong as Wong, and J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Obviously, there are a lot more people in the movie. Oh, also, last but not least, Marissa Tomei as May Parker. I don't, obviously, naming any more actors would be a massive spoiler, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And let us continue. The director was John Watts. The writers were Chris McKenna, Eric Summers, and it's based on the characters created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, based on the Marvel comic book series. So I'm sure that a lot of you have seen it already, but I still want to keep this as spoiler free as possible. So I'm not going to give you as much information, and I'm not exactly a reviewer. I can only really tell you what I think. I'd like to have the skill to professionally break down the story and the beats and the story arcs and the plots and all that sort of thing, the acting, the lighting, whatever that you're into when you go in to listen to a professional reviewer. But that's not me. I'm basically just here to tell you what I got out of it, you know, whether I liked it or not, whether I feel like this is a movie that is worth seeing, that if it gets the audience that it deserves. And as far as audience goes, I will tell you this: when I went to see Spider-Man No Way Home, I went to the very first showing that I can get to at one of my favorite theaters. That's the AMC Magic Johnson in Capitol Heights. Is it Capitol Heights, Maryland? No, maybe not Largo. It's probably closer to Largo. Anyway, it's in Maryland, and it's the AMC Magic Johnson Theater, and they have an IMAX screen. So I went to see it in IMAX, and I have to tell you, this is one of the most packed theaters I have ever been in since the beginning of the pandemic, or since the beginning of the lockdown and the quarantine. It was so many people there, and I was amazed because all of the other movies that I've been to, and they're mostly, genre or superhero movies that I went to, there have been people in the movie theaters, but it was sparsely seated. Like there may have been 10 or 15 people in the theater. I think the most uh audience that was in any of the screenings that I've been to was probably maybe Shang-Chi or maybe Dune. One or the other. They had maybe 20 people in the theater. But when I saw Spider-Man No Way Home, the theater was nearly filled. I had a situation where I was ordering my tickets online, and when you're using the online purchases, you can, when you choose, the theater you want to see it in, you can see the seats that are available and the seats that are already occupied or reserved, and you can see the empty seats, and there were hardly any empty seats in the prime viewing spots, like in the middle of the theater. Like there were plenty of empty seats like in the very front of the screen, and which is the worst place that you could watch an IMAX movie. And then there were plenty of seats in the back, but like right in the middle in the prime spots, it was like maybe 2 seats that I could get. Now I was unable to see it with Zachary because of our schedules. So as far as I know, he's watching it right now, or he's going to go and watch it at around this time. So we're watching it separately, so I don't actually have his impressions at this time. But as far as my impression goes, it basically gave you what you wanted. If you a comic book geek and you love the Marvel movies and you love Spider-Man, it basically gave you what you want. There were a lot of people that were asking for certain things out of this movie, a lot of speculation, and I don't want to get into that right now. But it definitely, I think it's safe to tell you that it plays a lot of fan service. There is a lot of acknowledging the fans that have stuck with this movie for so long, or with these movies, with the Marvel movies in particular. And the thing about it is that this is not the type of movie they would have made, I don't know, 10 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago. I don't know if they would have made this type of movie the way it's structured, because it relies so heavily on fan service to tell a story. But I think that they're able to do it because now there are so many Marvel fans. Like in the beginning, it was really as a genre movie and as a superhero movie, they didn't really have a huge fan base. They really heavily relied on attracting people who were not familiar with comic book stories or comic book characters in general. So they had to structure their story to attract, let's say, regular people as well as comic book nerds like myself. So they didn't have to worry about that in this movie. Now everybody is a comic book nerd. Most people are familiar with superhero movies and the genre of films that superheroes occupy, and the characters and the storyline. People are familiar with it, or at the very least they know what to expect. So now Marvel has some room to experiment or do things that they wouldn't have done earlier. So they, for example, with the Eternals, they had a chance to experiment with a different type of storytelling with that movie. And with this movie, it's all fan service. I'm just going to say that. And that'll give you enough of a clue of what to expect if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I'm going to admit that the story was a little wonky. It seemed, some of the stuff seemed a little too contrived in the movie, but it was still it was still a great movie because I think that it was well balanced with the fan service, that they really did well with character development. They did extremely well with the visuals. And I look, my impression is I really enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, and I really believe that everyone should go and watch this movie. That is my impression. So yeah, Beware, the story's a little wonky. I'll give it that, but everything else is so great. It had so many great moments in this movie, so many moments that I enjoyed, and not just me, but it was like the entire audience. I mean, in the middle of the film, the audience were laughing and applauding and cheering on the characters in the movie. In the middle of the movie, it was this similar experience to what happened in Avengers Endgame. So not only was the theater full, but the audience reacted in the same way as they reacted in Avengers Endgame. So if we go back to Endgame, let's talk about how Captain America grabbed Thor's hammer. That was one of the most impactful moments in that movie, and the audience was like just cheering, and they were just excited about that moment. So there are a couple of those moments in Spider-Man No Way Home. Also, I don't think this is a spoiler. This is a spoiler when I tell you this. Marvel will lie to you. They will lie to you in the trailer. The actors will lie to you. So things that you thought might happen probably didn't happen, or maybe they happened as exactly as you expect. But you know, Marvel will lie to you to protect the integrity of the story in the movie. Now, of course, the cat's out of the bag now because a lot of people seen it, and now they're going to put out different trailers and just spoil it all the way once they feel like enough people have seen the movie. But and I've seen videos where people have speculated on certain aspects and certain action sequences that had happened, and you know, and they changed the trailer. The trailer is different from what you see in the actual film. So there's that. But all that being said, it is definitely worth your time. It is definitely worth seeing. It's a great movie. It's a great family movie, I think. And I was just excited to see it. So like I said, if I say anything more, it's all gonna get spoiled. Nope, I won't say that. I won't even say that part. I won't even say that part. You just gotta go and see it. And I think it's very good. Now, as you may have known, Tom Holland and Sony and Marvel has agreed to do 3 more Spider-Man movies. So that cat is already out of the bag. So I can say that part. And so I guess get ready for more Spider-Man movies. These I'll say this also. If I were to compare this particular trilogy, I don't know. I think story wise they're all about the same. Okay, let's say that this movie, the story was slightly weaker than the other 2 movies. I'll say that, but only slightly. But as I said before, it was a great movie and I enjoyed it. So I think that's all for now. Thank you for listening in. I really appreciate you, and I really hope that that things get better for us. That, you know, the eventually this pandemic will go away, or at least it'll be manageable and it's not hospitalizing so many people. And hopefully, you know, we'll be able to open up and end the lockdowns and travel and do the things that we used to do. Because when I went to this viewing of this movie, it was as if the pandemic never happened, except for the part that I was wearing my mask the entire time. So, you guys have a great special day, and I will see you on a regular episode, or you will hear my voice on a regular episode as soon as I can get it out. I'm still doing some retooling or whatever, doing some new artwork. So as soon as I can get everything together, hopefully next week, or if not next week, the week after next, we'll start again with regular episodes. But thank you so much. Hug your loved ones and be outstanding.